Hi, Suns fans. This is Suns Latest, courtesy of Fan Art. I am Rich Rubin. Way too much to cover today, and we are winding down the top 10 because we're in the top 10 and we're ranking the top 15 Suns of all time. So I asked you guys if you had a quote, sports quote, or any quote that, was just a good way to look at the world. And I got one from Mr. DeCasso 9637. Quote of the day: always make a total effort, even when the odds are against you, end quote. That is from Pat Tillman, former ASU football player, former Arizona Cardinal, who opted out of playing in the NFL to go fight for our country. Pat Tillman. There's so much to say about Pat Tillman. And whatever your thoughts are on Pat Tillman, I'd love to hear him. He seemed like the real deal. Thanks again for Mr. DeCasso 9637. Always make a total effort, even when the odds are against you. This reminds me of Roy Jones Jr. In his prime, Roy Jones Jr. on New Year's Eve did a full workout, and he said it was always the hardest workout, self-imposed, that he did all year, regardless if he had a fight coming up or not. And that is total effort. Not to compare myself to Roy Jones Jr., but sometimes I have to work really late, like until midnight or 1 a.m., depending on what I'm working on that day. Those are the days that I make a point to run a 5K before I go to bed. Now, to be fair, I sleep very well. But it's usually the hardest time to do it. And as I said before, I'm a triathlete, sometime Ironman, and running, swimming, and riding my bike is all I do for exercise. So my best runs are the ones where I honestly don't think I'm going to finish 3.2 miles to finish a 5K. So anyway, total effort, even when the odds are against you, even when you're tired, even when it's the last thing in the world that you want to do. Just don't do it when you're drunk, and then you're asking for it. Great quote. If you got other quotes, give me a heads up, and we'll talk about it. And I think I think Curious Minds 2525 has a quote coming up. All right, not a ton of news, but former Sun and fan favorite center Bismack Biyombo signed a one-year deal to return to the San Antonio Spurs, his 15th season, and I loved having Biyombo on the Suns. I always love it, just a defensive-minded rebounding machine like him. Suns have had a few of those guys over the years, but I like Biyombo because he was just no nonsense, and he came in there and at least defensively, he didn't change games, but he could definitely alter guys getting into the lane. I wished he could have averaged 10 points a game on decent mid-range shooting. It would have made a lot of difference for us, and he still might be on the Suns if that was happening. Real quick on Jonathan Kuminga. The saga comes down to the Warriors asking him, this is the latest publication I just read, the Warriors asked him, hey, do you want to be here? To which he countered, do you even want me here? And both are fair because both have different agendas. Kuminga, of course he's out for himself. Of course his team is out for himself to get the biggest payday that he's ever going to get, and that is happening right now. He's been offered close to $90 million. He's turned it down. Warriors have offered him a little bit less than that. He's turned that down. It's a stalemate. It's going to stay that way until one of them blinks. Kuminga knows he's not getting into the three Hall of Famer rotation. As long as Green, Butler, and Steph Curry can get into the playoffs, go 20-7 after the All-Star break with minimal help from him, and then oust the Houston Rockets like they did last year before Steph went down, he's not breaking that rotation. Kerr is not going to mess with that. So I get it, but he also deserves some love. He's a really good player. So maybe it's one more year. Maybe he sticks it out, and then maybe that's it for Steph. It all depends on Steph Curry. But as far as the Warriors go, it really depends on how they see Steph. If Steph's still their guy, then Kuminga's going to sit, or at least he's not going to get on the court as much as he'd like to. And finally, with other news besides the All-Star game, the Knicks picked up Malcolm Brogdon. And one of y'all commented on Malcolm Brogdon, and we're going to get to him in just a few. They will not be re-signing former Suns Cameron Payne, who last year when the Knicks were in the playoffs against Detroit, they don't win game one without Cameron Payne. He is a game changer. He is a spark plug. I would love to see Cameron Payne back on the Suns. I know we covered all the point guards, and I said we're done with it, but this just came up. Cameron Payne is a former Sun and a fan favorite without a team. Let's re-sign Turbo. Cameron Payne would be really good for the Suns. I don't care if he cuts back and forth between the G League and the NBA. I don't care if he doesn't do much. But, man, Cameron Payne is game ready when you need him. And he did a lot for us. And I would love to see him back on the Suns. What do you think? I don't care what you think. I want Cameron Payne back in the Suns. Real quick about the NBA All-Star Game. February 15th at the Intuit Dome in L.A. The Clippers play there. I was just in Prescott. That's where I did the last Suns latest. That's why there were no posters behind me on the last one that you just watched. And thank you for watching. And thank you for signing up and commenting. And my dad asked me, he said, "Hey, have you been to SoFi or have you been to the Intuit Dome?" I'm like, "No," and I can run to them. So I will try to get to the first Suns game against the Clippers. The tickets are ridiculous, and I really have a hard time paying for NBA tickets as much of a fan that I am. I watch everything on TV, but going to a game it's just, you know what? I have a hard time supporting that. I really think I really think it's outrageous. Maybe 20 years ago I would have said, screw it, go to one game and lighten up. So February 15th at the Intuit Dome in LA, it's going to be a round-robin tournament. So here's what they're trying to do to get people to give a crap about the All-Star Game. 3 teams, 2 teams made up of players from the U.S., 1 team made up of international players, 8 players per team. Not set in stone, it's being discussed by the league. But the word today is that's what we're getting for the All-Star Game. No word on the dunk contest and the skills contest and the three-point shooting contest. I want to know what you think about that. I don't know what to think. I have a feeling if the U.S. players lose to the international players, that might get a fire under their butts. Other than that, nobody cares about the All-Star Game. It's just to watch a fellow All-Star dunk for 48 minutes. It's so dumb, and these guys don't care anymore. And money is not working for them anymore. They have more money than they'll ever spend. They have money for 4 lifetimes, even the lower-ranked players. If you have $10 million a year, really you're going to spend all that? Yes, I know you're going to spend all that, but I mean, come on. What else will motivate these guys to put on a decent All-Star game? There hasn't been a decent All-Star game since Iverson played. Quote me on that. Let's get to your comments. And then the rankings for the Suns' top 15 of all time are getting a little bit squirrely. And I like that you comment on this stuff, and I like that you disagree, because there's always good arguments for everything. At Coop Babies 1976, I would wait and see how Kobe Brea produces and make him our future point guard. He is 100% a shooting guard. He's almost a small forward wing with the style that he plays. Long arms. He's smooth. He's not herky-jerky. There's no facilitating that I saw with him in Summer League. Hey, I only saw him in Summer League. Who knows what's going to happen in the preseason? I would be willing to bet that Kobe Brea, because he's on a two-way, cutting back and forth between the G League and the NBA, would happily welcome learning how to play point if that gets him a roster spot. Either way, that guy is tremendously talented. Speaking of tremendous, Joey Tremendous, 68-85. Any thoughts on missing out on Malcolm Brogdon at point guard? I was thinking about this the other day. We just talked about it earlier regarding the campaign situation. He was never once mentioned as a possibility of getting a veteran point guard in. Like, not once. Not in any single publication, not in any rag. ESPN never mentioned it. I never mentioned it. You know why? I never saw his name come up once. The other podcasts that deal with the Suns. I don't know. So, I mean, less than missing out. There's got to be something to that, right? Brogdon was Rookie of the Year. I think he was a former Most Improved Player. We've talked about Brody. We've talked about Devin Carter. Talked about Giddey. We talked about a couple of other guys that have no chance of getting on the Suns, but just as possibilities. Brogdon's name never came up. Not once. That's weird, right? Anyway, Brogdon's on the Knicks. They just signed him, and that is why I think we should go after campaign. At Boomerbro 43-48, Ryan Dunn is going to get better, no doubt about that. But don't you think? And you did briefly say how Rasheer Fleming looked great throughout summer camp. I said he looked great throughout summer league and his last year in college too. You think? Oh, you're thinking that Fleming is the one who's going to play. Fleming was traded and drafted first in the second round when teams had him a lot higher in the draft board. Rooting for both, but only one will get the starting role. So the thing is Ryan Dunn deserves a look ahead of Rasheer Fleming just because of what he did last year and how he didn't get a chance last year, but he was really, really good. Defensively, Ryan Dunn's probably a top 15, top 20 defender in the league now. Can't make free throws, improving his three-point shot. So if he wants to be a legit 3-and-D, his offense has to get a lot better. And maybe that's all he's working on. He looked stellar in Summer League. Rasheer Fleming looked stellar in Summer League. And in college, Rasheer Fleming could make a three. Rasheer Fleming could cut and dunk and defend and could lane clog and had an amazing wingspan. So I don't know. There's a legit chance. We don't know what's going to happen. They're going to see what they do in the preseason, but I'm guessing by the time they get back from China, they're going to have an idea of what the starting lineup's going to look like, and we'll get to see it too. I think Dunn will get the nod to start the season. If his offense isn't good out of the gate, like in the first couple of months, Fleming might get a chance. We really don't know. He still needs to. We'll see. It's a really good problem to have, right? I would love to see all the good possibilities happen, and I would love to see the guy who earns it get there. At John Freeman -6DT, Always enjoy the show. Rich, thanks, as always, for the good information. You already made my week. Thank you very much. Any information you guys got, let me know about it, because that helps Suns Latest be a lot more entertaining than just me babbling away about stuff I think about. That is why we do the comments. So thank you for your comments. All right, getting into the top 15. We're like at we're going to talk about 7 and 6. So we've been doing this. We're ranking the 15 greatest Suns of all time. As of now, I've got Dick Van Arsdale at 15, 14, Tom Chambers, 13, tie between Sean Marion and Alvin Adams, 12, Jason Kidd, 11, Connie Hawkins, 10, Chris Paul, 9, Thunder Dan Marley, 8, Amari Stoudemire. It gets really difficult now because I've kind of been looking at it and looking at it and looking at it and just obsessing over this. And it's going to come down to Walter Davis or Kevin Johnson for 7th greatest. And a lot of you, like me, it's like, how do you pick these two? Because Walter Davis, even more than Connie Hawkins for me, and Westfall, who was before Walter Davis, Walter Davis really changed things. This is when I was a young teenager when Walter Davis started out. I was still in my preteens. That's how old I am. But from 77 to 88, Walter Davis was on the Suns. And let me just break it down for you, because I just loved Walter Davis. And on a personal note, he lived 2 streets away from me. He was in my neighborhood. I saw Walter Davis 3 to 4 times a week for 10 years. He was a friend. Him and my brother talked point guard strategy when they moved Walter Davis to guard. My brother was an incredible high school basketball player at Washington High in Phoenix. Walter was a friend. Walter was at the neighborhood pool. We just saw him all the time. He would ride his bike. Walter Davis was 6'6", and his wife at the time was like 5'4", and she had a Volkswagen Rabbit at the time, and they had to take the seat out so he could sit in it. And it was the funniest sight to see this tiny woman driving this VW, and Walter Davis, his giant head sticking out, and he's all the way in the back, and we're like, how is he fitting in that car? Because they took the passenger seat out so he could sit in that car. But I digress. 1977 to 88, Walter Davis was with the Suns. 1978, NBA Rookie of the Year. In his rookie year, 24.2 points per game, second team All-NBA in his rookie year. 6-time All-Star with the Suns. Until last year, Suns all-time leading scorer with just over 15. I think the number is 15,666. Averaged over 20 points per game 6 times in his first 10 years in the NBA. In 83, Walter Davis set an all-time NBA record when he scored his first 34 points before finally missing a shot. He made his first 15 field goals, converted 4 straight free throws before missing a jumper with 55 seconds left in the game. With 1 minute left, he missed a perfect shooting game by less than a minute, and no one talks about that record. That is what you call unfreaking stoppable. That is what you call demoralizing if you're trying to defend that. That is how good Walter Davis was. In 84, led the Suns to the Western Conference Finals, averaged 24.9, 6.7 assists, lost to the Lakers. Walter Davis never got to the finals. A lot of Walter Davis' prime years, when he was the man in Phoenix, was going up against Kareem, Magic, and Worthy, and Byron Scott, and A.C. Green, and Kurt Rambis, and the Showtime Lakers. Walter Davis did not have an easy time of it in Phoenix, and he made the most of it. So I'm not going to count not getting to the finals against him as high as I normally would for certain players, because you're going up against a top 5 player of all time, 2 top 5 players of all time. How are you going to beat that? It doesn't happen very much. Suns legend Al McCoy created more nicknames for Davis than any other Suns player, including Connie Hawkins. Some of the nicknames were the Candy Man, Sweet D, the Man with the Velvet Touch. I'm pretty sure Al McCoy came up with the name Greyhound as well. Went to the playoffs with Walter Davis 7 times as a Sun. Ring of Honor, Basketball Hall of Fame. Walter Davis has nothing to prove, had nothing to prove. He was as good as anybody, as much as anyone. He changed the culture of the team. They had such a high in 75, 76 when they went to the finals, and such a letdown the following year. They were so terrible the next year. It just didn't work. Everybody figured them out the next year, and it was a real bummer. And then Walter Davis comes along, and the Suns were right back in the thick of it because of this one guy. He was that good. He won Rookie of the Year over the previous College Player of the Year, Marcus Johnson of the Bucks, who was incredible in his own right, and Bernard King. Those 3 rookies, 77, 78, came in, and people were like, what? How do you pick one? Well, they made a decision, and it was Walter Davis. That's how good he was. Walter started slowing down in 87. His contract expired, and there was a huge mess that he and other Suns players found themselves in. Big drug scandal. It was really nasty stuff. And the one thing that I do respect about the Suns, when it came to things like that off the court, that were like, you guys, what are you doing? We're just not going to have that kind of element in Phoenix. It happened with Jason Kidd with domestic violence. It happened with Walter Davis. I think Jay Humphreys. I think that was Alvin Scott's last year. These guys, they did what they did. I'm not judging. I am saying, though, when you are running a business, and don't forget, professional basketball, all business, and we were heading into the 90s, they weren't having it. So the Suns didn't renew his contract. Walter had his own addiction problems, in and out of rehab 2 times. And it was a real bummer of an end for Walter Davis. But it didn't take away from him being Sweet D and the coolest guy and the nicest guy. And, as I said, personally, like I knew him. This is a good person. Suns didn't re-sign him. He went on to play for the Nuggets and Blazers, ending his NBA career just short of 20,000 points. I get melancholy when I think of Walter Davis because I wanted him to be remembered differently. And sometimes I get bummed out. And then sometimes I remember, people that love Walter Davis only love him. So I have to remember that. And then his competition for this spot is KJ. And it's weird, but I can't put KJ ahead of the guys that we have coming up. Some of you are going to argue KJ over Westfall. I'll keep arguing that. But let's do it with KJ. Son from 88 to 98. Quick return in 2000. 3-time All-Star, 4-time All-NBA second team, 1-time All-NBA third team, NBA Most Improved Player in 89, Ring of Honor, all with the Suns. Not in the Hall of Fame yet, but he should be. Changed the culture, face of the Suns along with Coach Cotton, teammate Tom Chambers in 88. His first full season with the Suns, 20.4 points per game, 12.2 assists, shot 50.5% from the field, 88.2 from the line. KJ joined Magic Johnson and the legendary Piston Isaiah Thomas as the only players in NBA history to average at least 20 and 12 in a single season. It's pretty good company. Outplayed Magic in the 90 West semis. Magic was the first one to say that. Outplayed Stockton in the playoffs, too. At the time, along with Thunder Dan and Charles Barkley, led the Suns to their then best ever record, 62 wins, get to the finals against you-know-who. Set an NBA record for finals minutes played, 62 freaking minutes in Game 3, a 129-121 triple overtime victory versus the Bulls. That was in Chicago, wasn't it? That's when I thought the Suns were going to get it. Didn't happen. Injuries started to slow him down, but KJ would always rise to the occasion, and he averaged 26 points, 9 assists in the postseason, scoring 38 points 3 different times in 10 games, averaged 11 assists in those 3 contests. Retired in the 98 season, but returned in 2000 and helped the Suns win their first playoff series in 5 years, filling in for an injured Jason Kidd. After that, he retired for real. He had undiagnosed hernia issues. They went undiagnosed forever. And KJ was a freaking dog. Talk about the toughest point guards who ever played. Like Gary Payton was a dog. Isaiah Thomas was a dog. KJ, in my humble opinion, was the toughest point guard I ever saw play. And I'm not just being biased. Mark Price, who was a Cavalier, who KJ played behind for 1 year, I think, and was from Phoenix. A dog. Way tougher than given credit for. He had a money jump shot. He was an awesome dunker. Yes, we know about the dunk over Olajuwon and Mark Eaton and name it. KJ just went at people. Played tough defense. KJ could dominate by scoring and facilitating. Whatever you needed to do to win, Kevin Johnson would do it. And to pick between these two is close to impossible. But KJ ended a lot stronger than Davis, and they both got injured near the end of their careers. The scandal with Walter Davis and him doing what he had to do to protect himself makes it really tough to put him ahead of KJ. Also, KJ got to the finals and battled Michael Jordan. I didn't say he dominated Michael Jordan. No one can say that. But played him right. Played him tough. Michael will never tell you this, but I saw what I saw. So I'm going to put Walter Davis at number 7, and I'm going to put KJ just outside of the top 5 at number 6. If you got issues with this, that's totally cool because the top 5 is coming up, and we're going to do it. We are still ranking the top 15 Suns. The top 5 starts next Suns Latest. Appreciate you watching. Appreciate you commenting. Appreciate you subscribing. If you know any Suns fans who don't know about Suns Latest, let them know about it. Have them watch and have them tell me what they think. I'm Rich Rubin. This has been Suns Latest. I appreciate you watching. We'll do it again.